I needed you to tell me about a horse named Baja.
Oh yeah. So that can go all the way back to when I was in high school. My mom found this horse on Craigslist. She was looking for a couch for my brother's college house, and found
Looking for a
this
couch.
literally and that tells you she wasn't looking very hard for a couch. Just,
Exactly.
okay, she stumbles upon a 2-year-old, and it's in Pleasanton, which is like an hour and a half from us, and owned by a vet there. So she calls that clinic and track it down to where Dylan Mundorf is actually who the horse came from. So she calls Dylan, like, what's the deal with this 2-year-old for sale on Craigslist at a vet clinic? And he said, well, she cut her leg and I left her there because I couldn't pay the bill or whatever. And he's like, I made this deal with the vet that she bought me out on the horse. So then the vet's like, well, I don't need a team rope. I think she called it a team roping prospect. But we're looking at the papers and it's out of a Royal Shakeham mare. And we were like, interesting. And it's by Dylan Stud, who Corley Cox had took some horses to the NFR that were in that bloodline. So we knew this could be a barrel horse. And my mom's got a great eye. So like she can see a 2-year-old and tell you if it's going to be great or not. And so she drove over there and made a deal with Dylan. She's like, you're going to put the first ride on and prove to me this is not a bronc. Like this is it really did happen that way. It was just a cut. Okay. So anyways, she buys the horse and we start riding it and we like this thing. And I mean, she's super talented, a little flighty, but always had some promise. And she is a maternal half sibling to Sister. So 2 years later, Sister is in a sale and we had called Dylan. We tried to buy the broodmare. He'd already sold her. We're like, what else do you have? Because like we like this filly. By this point, she's 3-4 years old and we're excited about her. And he said, I have one left. I sold the broodmare and I put this one that's by Dinero in the Texas Best Sale in Waco in November. And so we watched it. We waited like months, waited up to the sale and bought her out of that sale. And fairly cheap actually for a barrel horse, just because it wasn't a well-known bloodline. We knew Dinero from making NFR and stuff, but otherwise it was a little bit of a sleeper bloodline, but that is Sister. And then Baja, when I was in school, I was jackpotting on her. She was a little bit more my mom's horse, and I had Sister kind of coming up, and she was diagnosed with melanoma tumor, so she was gray, and gray horses can be prone, depending on their skin type, to growing these tumors, and hers were internalized, so you could not see them. One of them ended up fracturing her pelvis, and because of this mystery lameness, we were going to the vet for like a month in advance, trying to figure out what's going on, and this is all along those couple weeks where we have the American semifinals, San Angelo, and then the American. I win the American on Sunday. I think we had to put her down on Friday of that next week.
Wow.
And it was like a huge thank you to that horse. If it wasn't for that horse, I never would have turned a head at this.
Exactly. Wouldn't have been for Craigslist, you wouldn't have got that horse.
Exactly.
If you're thank the Lord for Hailey's brother needing a couch.
College and couches,
That is absolutely crazy.
That's what made you look at Sister, right? It's the same bloodline.
It's the same, exactly.
It's crazy.
Exactly.
Wow.
The bloodline and the feel, and like that's what's so cool. That every horse has like a reason they're in your life, right? Like it was to teach you something. And I thought Baja was my one. Like she was that fastest horse I've ever stepped on. I still think she could outrun Sis, but in a straight line, like such a talented horse. So I was devastated when we found this out. And then lo and behold, she was the one to lead me to the horse of my career, my life.
What were those early days riding Sister? Was it a match made in heaven?
We got her, she was in her 2-year-old year, and we turned her out for a little bit. We went to ranching on her, just like basic. I was in school, so I would have been a junior, sophomore, I think. That when she was a 3-year-old. So I would ride her when I'd go home. And my mom was just taking her out on the ranch, letting her do horse things and be normal and working on her. And then kind of started her on the barrels her 4-year-old year. I had made college finals, so we took her. I went on a little like northern rodeo tour thing, went to the college finals, went to a couple others, and we took her along just for the experience. And one time I couldn't even get her in the trailer. I was so mad I almost left her in, I think, Hereford, Texas. I'm not kidding. We were at the arena and I could not get her back on. I was done. I was like, screw hauling colts. This is not for the faint of heart. So yeah, we were seasoning, and that was really exciting. And then her 5-year-old year would have been when we made the American honor. I won it when she was 6, so that was my senior year. So all that time, it was great. Yes, it was. She had a great feel. I remember being more excited about Baja, and my mom was like, I feel like you're going to ride Sis better. I just feel like you're going to ride her better. I feel like this is going to fit you and that's going to fit me. And I'm like, she acts slow. She was lazy, so lazy, super lazy, and still is today at home, like lazy and slow. And we were like, she'll make a heel horse. That's what I was thinking. That she's probably fast enough to make a heel horse.
Oh my gosh.
But that's the thing at our house, like, And to this day, still, like, if they're at my parents', they have to be able to be ranched on, they have to be able to be roped on, and have to have a backup career, because we can't keep nice barrel horses around a cattle ranch. Like, that just, it's my daddy, ain't gonna go for that. So anyways, that was the stipulation. We knew we could rope on her, knew she had a good mind. And then one time, she was 4, but I had gone home, and my mom had been working her some. I was busy with school. I went home, and she said, just go ahead and high-lope her through, see where she's at. Like, she hadn't really pushed her, so she's like, just send her through, see what happens. She turned the first barrel and sucked up her tail and broke into, I made it 6 jumps, and I'm very sticky, and I got launched. Like, I almost made it to the second barrel. I got launched so far. And truthfully, like, we were laughing, but we were so excited. We're like, she cares about something. Like, she's got some fire in her.
Yeah.
This is good. We can channel that, you know?
This is a cowgirl that is excited about a horse bucking her off.
I'm pretty sticky.
I don't even think you were you trying to
I was trying to
process the vocabulary, the
Sorry about
lingo.
that.
What
Yeah.
did she? Okay, sucked up tail. Okay,
Got sticky.
I was sticky
Then
for
I
6
got
jumps.
launched.
But,
So I'm thinking she got
I'm
bucked off.
watching Cole. I'm listening to you.
Totally.
I'm listening to you and watching Cole's mind trying to process this.
That was
Honestly,
good.
okay, so then picture this. So the pre-story on that is my mom had told me 2 months before that she had bucked with her real bad in the pasture. And I was like, yeah, right. Like, my mom's just being dramatic. Like, this is a lazy horse. There's no way. And she told me as she stepped off her because it was getting bad. I was like, okay, we'll see. So my mom's sitting there laughing like, this is great. I just wanted that to happen to you because you laughed at me. And anyways,
Sister or
One thing
Virgil?
one thing about barrel racers, they're tough. They don't mind getting bucked off. They're going to drive all night. They're going to have 4 horses and 2 dogs that go with them.
that's not the last time she bucked me off either. One time, I think it was 2019, I had driven from Panoka to, I was going to Greeley the next day, and I stopped in Montana, and I rode her, and I felt bad going to Greeley. I'm like, it's too far. She's tired. Maybe I should turn it out. And I rode her around, and she bucked me off that day. And I was like, never mind, we're going to Greeley. You're fine.
I cannot imagine. So, like, and this is part of the question. When you're training a bear horse, are you literally just every day or every week, you just keep running them, keep running it, and then eventually she gets faster, gets better? I mean, you're working through those kinks?
Not really. So I feel like it's very gradual. It's like it's almost like school. Like, you start in kindergarten and you end in your senior year, and you go on to college if you're good enough.
That's a great analogy, actually.
I mean, you just step by step. You don't throw too much at them early, and you don't start at junior year and just hammer there for a while.
So what is kindergarten?
Kindergarten is, getting them broke, handling on the ground, all of that stuff. Like, even though it seems basic, that matters now when I need that horse to trust me fully, and I need to be able to take hold of them in a turn and move them. Like, all of those basic ABCs come into every single run I make at the NFR, as far up as the NFR. Like, that sort of stuff is everything you build on. So, I mean, I feel like that's what makes it so cool, is when you start to see the greatness come out, is when you get to like 6th grade, 7th grade, and they're still learning, they're taking more, they're clocking better, they're starting to step up. Like, you're now entering jackpots, and they're making mistakes, but they're still slamming the clock, and you're like, oh man, if we ever get this down, this is going to be great. And not all of them do. Some of them don't get past high school, and that's great, because in barrel racing, there's so many levels. There's a market for every horse. There's so many levels of competition. But like, what I look for is the horses that I feel like there's still something in the tank here. There's still something more that either they're teachable about it, or there's a talent that's just being stoked as we get older.
Wow.
I wonder if, just to keep, you probably would have the language for it better than me, but I wonder if you're comparing horses, different horse styles. I feel like what made Sister so great, just from what I see, when she hits those barrels, number one, she just goes so fast and she stops on a dime, but she almost like makes 3 turns and is gone.
Yep.
When some horses will go like fast steps around the barrel versus sharp cuts corners around the barrel.
Mm-hmm.
What makes her clock? I mean, what makes Sister clock better than one of the best horses to ever live? I mean,
That's a good question, and that's a good observation. Like, style-wise, there's a lot of styles that work. There's different styles that work better at rodeos, on harder ground, or with a crowd, but there's also styles that work better at deep ground rodeos and barrel races and stuff. And her style is very direct. It's point A to point B, straight lines, and even in the turn. So she almost I kind of try to teach everything to turn into square. And that may turn into a bigger square or a rectangle or a bit of a diamond, but either way, they have points where you go to here, you respect the inside of the turn, then you take another step, you take a pivot, and then you pivot again, and that's going to be based on their feel and their style. But for her, it was very simple because she's a straight-bodied mare, but she's respectful about her sides, so I could almost take her straight into a turn as if it was a tiny rectangle on the backside. I get flat with the fence for just a second, and then I come straight out, and it's so efficient in the turn. And it also can get me in a bind where I can drag one over because she kind of wants to roll back, and if there's a wall, she'll maybe a little tighter about where she comes back. But either way, it's such a fast turn. But there's two things I think of, though, that are really key that people can't see as well. Like, you can see the different styles. To me, the one thing that's not very easy to pick out with a naked eye, but I know is special about her, she accelerates and decelerates so fast. There's no lag time to get from that break moment in the turn to that fast acceleration, and that leads to she's incredibly fast between the first and second barrel. And that's the hardest transition for a horse. They're turning right to left or left to right, and so they're switching leads, they're making kind of a swoop, and they can lose so much motion and so much time trying to change leads, get going, pull themselves out, prepare for the next turn. And for her, she could switch leads every stride and it wouldn't matter. Like, she just is so stood up and direct about that. And then the biggest, most outlier thing, I've won so much on the run home. And it's not because she's that much faster than every horse, because she tries across the line
the whole time.
Harder. Yes, the whole time. I mean, you can do a shadow cam and see her running back with somebody, and I'll beat them in the last stride because she just doesn't let up. And that's a hard thing. That's her mentally.